प्यारे दोस्तों, आपको एक ब्रेकिंग न्यूज़ देते चले। आलमी अदालत इंसाफ से एक बड़ी खबर आ गई है। कई सालों से फ़लस्तीन जो मेहनत कर रहे हैं और कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि उनका प्रॉब्लम पूरी दुनिया के सामने आए, और जो उन पे जुल्म हो रहा है और जो उनके ऊपर ज़िंदगी तंग कर दी गई है, उसको कुछ बदला मिले। कुछ आलमी सतह पर जो इसराइल ने हर जगह पे अपना एक पंजा गाड़ा हुआ है, मीडिया पे, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पे, उसको तोड़ा जाए। तो अब आलमी अदालत ने जो है इसराइल के जो जुर्म हैं फ़लस्तीनियों पे, उनको जो उन पे जुल्म सितम की जो इंतहा की गई है, उसका इतराफ़ करते हुए एक मुकदमा शुरू कर दिया गया है।
Investigation into Israeli war crimes.
Following a thorough, independent, and objective assessment of all reliable information available to my office, the preliminary examination into the situation in Palestine has concluded with the determination that all the statutory criteria under the Rome Statute for the opening of an investigation have been met. I am satisfied that there is a reasonable basis to proceed with an investigation into the situation in Palestine pursuant to Article 53(1) of the statute. In brief, I am satisfied: 1. That war crimes have been or are being committed in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. 2. That potential cases arising from the situation would be admissible. And 3. That there are no substantial reasons to believe that an investigation would not serve the interest of justice.
Per Article 12(2)(a) of the Rome Statute, the ICC may exercise its jurisdiction over alleged crimes only if the state on the territory of which the conduct in question occurred is a party to the treaty or has accepted the court's jurisdiction by a declaration. Therefore, the fact that Israel is not a signatory to the Rome Statute, in contrast to the Palestinian Authority, which is not a state under international law, yet became a party to the treaty on January 7, 2015, Jerusalem officials vehemently rejected the court's jurisdiction. Consequently, given the unique and highly contested legal and factual issues attached to the territory within which the investigation may be conducted, the ICC's prosecutor Bensouda opted a court ruling necessary to resolve issues of jurisdiction. Subsequently, on February 5th, a panel of 16 judges, following extensive deliberations, decided by a majority of 15-1 that the court's territorial jurisdiction in the situation in Palestine, which it referred to as a state party to the ICC Rome Statute, extends to the territories occupied by Israel since 1967, namely Gaza, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. In its statement, the court explained that while the ICC is not constitutionally competent to determine matters of statehood that would bind the international community, the reference to the state on the territory of which the conduct in question occurred in the statute's Article 12(2)(a) must be interpreted as a reference to a state party to the Rome Statute. Therefore, the court found that regardless of its status under general international law, Palestine's accession to the statute followed the correct and ordinary procedure, and that the chamber has no authority to challenge and review the outcome of the accession procedure conducted by the Assembly of States Parties. The court went on to conclude, quote, Palestine has thus agreed to subject itself to the terms of the ICC Rome Statute and has the right to be treated as any other state party for the matters related to the implementation of the statute. The court further noted that UN Resolution 67/19, among similarly worded resolutions, repeatedly reaffirmed the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination and to independence in their state of Palestine on the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967. Therefore, the majority of judges determined that the court's territorial jurisdiction in the situation in Palestine extends to the territories occupied by Israel since 1967, namely Gaza, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. In response, Israeli officials condemned the court's ruling as political, emphasizing the fact that there is no, nor has there ever been, a state of Palestine.
It's a shame that an international institution that we had so much hope for has capitulated to political pressure. There's no legal basis whatsoever in today's decision, and it damages the faith in the international legal system. Today's decision won't change the reality and won't change history. There isn't a Palestinian state, and there never has existed a Palestinian state.
It is important to explain Israel's accusations of the International Criminal Court's ruling out of political considerations. It is derived from the fact that the Palestinian Authority's accession to the Rome Statute as a member state was accepted by the Assembly of States Parties, which is a largely political body that serves as the court's management oversight and legislative body and is composed of representatives of the states which have ratified or acceded to the Rome Statute, which does not include Israel nor the United States. Separately, claiming jurisdiction over disputed territories derived from UN resolutions that have classified the West Bank, among others, as occupied Palestinian land, raises into question the court's objectivity. Naturally, however, the Palestinian Authority has welcomed the court's ruling.
Israel has been always been treated above the law. There is no accountability when it comes to Israel. Now, no one, including the United States of America, could really provide protection to Israel. You know that always when we go to the Security Council, the United States of America is the one who really shields Israel from any criticism and prevents us from getting whatever sanctions needed against Israel. Today, United States of America cannot do anything, to protect Israel, and as a result, Israel has to be treated as a war criminal.
Now that the ICC has determined its jurisdiction, Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda is expected to launch an investigation into alleged Israeli war crimes. The referred to crimes, according to the allegations submitted by the Palestinian leadership, seek to label Israeli construction of Jewish settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem as a war crime based on UN Security Council Resolution 2334, which was adopted on December 23, 2016, when the Obama administration decided to abstain from the vote. Per the resolution, quote, "The establishment by Israel of settlements in the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967, including East Jerusalem, has no legal validity and constitutes a flagrant violation under international law."
When the ICC investigates Israel for fake war crimes, this is pure anti-Semitism. The court established to prevent atrocities like the Nazi Holocaust against the Jewish people is now targeting the one state of the Jewish people. First, it outrageously claims that when Jews live in our homeland, this is a war crime. Second, it claims that when democratic Israel defends itself against terrorists who murder our children, rocket our cities, we're committing another war crime. Yet the ICC refuses to investigate brutal dictatorships like Iran and Syria, who commit horrific atrocities almost daily. As Prime Minister of Israel, I assure you, we will fight this perversion of justice with all our might.
The second part of the ICC's intended investigation pertains to alleged war crimes committed by Israel, as referred to by Premier Netanyahu, when the Jewish state sought to defend itself against Islamist organizations in the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip, from which thousands of rockets have been fired indiscriminately toward Israel's civilian-populated territories. And while Jerusalem demands its natural right to defend itself against terrorism, the Islamist Hamas emphasizes that it regards indiscriminate rocket fire toward Israel to be consistent with international humanitarian law.
حماس تقول بشكل واضح وبكل ثقة أن مقاومتها وشعبنا الفلسطيني هي مقاومة مشروعة تتفق والقانون الدولي الإنساني وكل الأعراف الإنسانية المسجلة في كل المواثيق والاتفاقات وكل المؤسسات الدولية تشرع هذا الحق، وبالتالي هذه المقاومة المشروعة لا يمكن إدانتها ولا بأي حال من الأحوال.
It is crucial to mention that in light of Jerusalem's expected refusal to cooperate with the investigation, the International Criminal Court, pursuant to Part 9 of the Rome Statute, can demand legal action by the so-called Assembly of States Parties to exercise legal action with the aim of persuading Israel to cooperate.